This week we're at Mesa Verde National Park.
So if you plan on visiting Mesa Verde National Park and you don't want to pay to stay in the campground in the park or at any of the RV resorts around there, right across the street there is some pretty decent BLM land. There's 15 designated spots. It is free, and it's really close to the entrance to the park. I think it's only like 5 minutes away down the road. So it's not a terrible jumping off point in terms of a place to stay the night before going into the park. Some spots are larger than others. It's typical high desert camping. There's shaggy bark juniper and a few pine trees. So I wouldn't expect a whole lot of shade during the summertime, but it's probably really beautiful in the winter months. Although I do believe that there is a certain time period that they close the gate and you can't access it for some kind of wildlife migration going on through the area. But overall it wasn't too bad. There wasn't too much trash. There were probably about 4 sites that were taken when we stayed there. And it was pretty quiet.
There's 2 different sites you can go to in Mesa Verde National Park. The roads to get down to them are very twisty and turny. So if you're wanting to go to both, I plan on getting to the park pretty early, so you can go out to one and in the morning and then make your way back to the second part of the park in the afternoon. Do note that one of the sections in the park you have to pay to go to a majority of the sites. For the tour ticketed sites, you need to go online and reserve them in advance, 21 days in advance. So make sure that if you're planning on doing those sites, you plan ahead and reserve those tickets.
The cliff dwellers must have been agile climbers, as they often built rooms in small alcoves that were perched precariously high on the sheer walled sandstone cliffs. The weathered hand and toe hold trails carved with stone tools, along with remnants of yucca fiber rope and wooden ladders, attest to the skill and agility needed to reach these precarious perches.
Featured a main living area dug a few feet into the ground. 4 corner posts supported roof beams. Small side wall poles extended diagonally to the roof beams. Floor features included fire hearths and storage pits. Smaller roofed structures called antechambers were often connected to the pit houses. Ancestral Pueblo people relied on summer corn crops for winter food and stored it and other supplies in antechambers. The Great Kiva was an important building in the life of a Badger House community. Large underground structures like this, now called Great Kivas, may have served as a community focal point, where residents met to socialize, participate in public events or ceremonies, or to discuss important issues. So if you want to stay at the park, there is a campground, Moorfield Campground. It is $30 a night or $18 if you have an access pass.
The campground includes free showers, hot showers, which is always nice. There's also a 24-hour laundromat. It was $1.75 to do a load in the wash and 25 cents for every 7 minutes in the dryer, so not too terrible. There's also a general store, so if you forget anything, need any supplies or any kind of food, beer, wine, firewood, and ice. There's also a small restaurant there that's open for breakfast. And then there's also a gas station located there if you need to fuel up.
The campground's broken up into two parts, one tent only and two for rigs or vehicles. They do have some larger spots for some larger rigs, but for the most part, parking is fairly small. It fits a Sprinter no problem, but if you're pulling a trailer, you want to get there pretty early to try to scout out one of the larger spots. The campground does have bathrooms and trash, and they're scattered throughout the entire campground. And the Wi-Fi routers are attached to the bathrooms, so you do have Wi-Fi. Sites also have picnic tables and fire rings, and have a no noise ordinance from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. There is a lot of wildlife in the area, so you gotta make sure you pick up all your trash, and if you have dogs, obviously they have to be on leads, but still make sure that you're keeping an eye on them because the deer will just come into your campsite.
We also saw wild horses and coyotes all throughout the campground.
The campsites are pretty close together, so in the height of the season you may be on top of other visitors, so it's something you may want to consider if going to the off season so you're not on top of other people.
And I would say only about a quarter of the campsites have some kind of shade, and the shade is going to be small trees or kind of overgrown bushes. The rest of the campground is pretty much just out in an open field, so you'll need your own shade structure or plan to not hang out in the campground very long.
Yeah. All in all, if you are wanting to see both of the sites and you want to take your time, staying would be worth it. Otherwise, the BLM land across the street is very, very nice for a one-night stay.